Hey guys, it's me, Miss B. So today we're going to be doing operations on rational expressions, starting with multiplying and dividing. This is in chapter P, which is why this is called 2-point P. It just goes better in chapter 2. So first we are going to work on multiplying. Just a reminder, when we multiply fractions, we're multiplying straight across. So this answer would be AC over BD. And my main point here is do not cross multiply. It's a major no-no that a lot of people make. So do not cross multiply. So for this first example here, what I'm going to do is multiply straight across. So I get negative 6 over 45. And then I divide top and bottom by 3 to simplify and get negative 2 over, what is that, 15. Something easier we could have done is we could have canceled this out and made this 1, and then we could have jumped straight to that step. But we're going to talk about that in a second. So it's easier first to, here are the steps, factor, then divide, and then multiply our denominators together. So if you're trying to remember just by one word, we're going to factor, simplify, multiply. So I'm just going to say factor, simplify, multiply. So for our first example here, let's go ahead and factor. There's really not anything to factor for this, so we are just going to simplify. So remember, when we have exponents the same on the top and the bottom, we are going to subtract them. So we have x squared and x to the first. So this x is going to go away, and we're left with just an x on the top. This one's going to become a 2, and this one goes away, and then these 3's cancel out. 4 and 2 are 2 is a multiple of 4 and 2 are both divisible by 2, so this is going to go away, and this is going to become a 2. So we are left with 2xy squared. Everything in the denominator cancels out. All right, for B, what we need to do for this one is we need to factor first. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite. So I have x minus 5. I'm going to put it over 1. You'll see why in a second. And then I'm going to factor the denominator. So I want to factor out the largest number that divides both x to the third and 5x squared. So we get x squared and then x minus 5. These x minus 5's cancel, and we are left with 7 over x squared when we multiply straight across. So when these cancel out, we are left with 1, by the way. That's going to come up later. So that is our answer for that one. Next up, we want to factor again. So just a reminder on how to factor difference of squares. Let me rewrite this first. So we have the difference of squares. So if that's a squared minus b squared, that's the same thing as a plus b times a minus b. So we've got 3x over x plus 2 times x minus 2, since 2 is the square root of 4. So this x plus 2 is going to cancel with that. This x is going to cancel with that x, and then this is going to become a 2, and this is going to become a 1. Then we multiply straight across. So I'm left with x plus 2 over 2 times x minus 2. So that gives us our most simplified form. All right, so when we are multiplying rational expressions, if only the signs differ in a numerator and a denominator, then if we factor out a -1 from either the numerator or denominator, then we can divide out that common factor. So here's an example of that. First, let's factor these down. So this is the same thing as 3x plus 2 over 2x minus 1 times, I'm actually just going to use a dot from here on out, times 2 times the quantity, or 4 times the quantity 1 minus 2x, and then 3x plus 2. If you notice here, this and this are opposites. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out a -1 from the denominator of this one here. We only want to do it for one of them. You know what? I'm going to move this down here just for ease of writing. So then I have -2. So when I factor out the negative, this becomes 1 minus 2x times, it's -1, 4, 1 minus 2x, and 3x plus 2. You'll notice that this and this are the same, and this one has flipped now. So just be mindful of that. Kind of go through that and do a compare and contrast. So then this cancels with, let me get a new color. This cancels with this cancels with this, and so I'm left with 4 over -1, which is just -4 for that answer. So this big old equation is just -4. All right, so dividing, when we divide two fractions, we are going to multiply by the reciprocal, and that's of the second fraction. You don't want to flip both of them. So this is going to be a over b times d over c. So we get ad over bc for that answer. So for this one here, we get 3 over 5 times 5 over 4. We flipped, we cancel, and then we multiply straight across. So 3 over 4 is our answer. All right, again, dividing is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to go ahead and walk through these problems. So 7x to the third over z times 3 over 5z to the third. We want to cancel out here, so we've got actually nothing that cancels because we don't have anything diagonally that would cancel, and we don't have anything straight up and down that would cancel. So we're just going to multiply straight across. We get 21x to the third over 5z to the fourth. A lot of people would try and cancel this 3 and this 4, but they do not have the same base, so we cannot. All right, next up here, let's go ahead and flip first. So I have x squared minus 9 over x plus 4 times x plus 4 over x minus 3. Let's go ahead and factor. Again, we have the difference of squares, so it's going to be x plus 3 times x minus 3 for this part right here over x plus 4. That's times x plus 4 over x minus 3. Let's cancel some stuff out. Boop, 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 boop. And I am left with just x plus 3 as my answer. Sorry, I keep highlighting it and then I decide it's too bright, so I can't. All right, so for this last one here, we've got a little bit more to work with. Let's first think of this as x plus 3 squared over 1. That way, when we flip it, it looks more, we actually have something to flip. All right, so let's go ahead and factor this here. I need two numbers that multiply to be 15 and two numbers that add to be 8. Those numbers are 5 and 3, so I'm going to have x plus 5 times x plus 3 over x squared times 1 over x plus 3 squared. This is going to cancel with that, and then I'm going to multiply straight across, so I get x plus 5 over x squared times x plus 3. Nothing else is going to cancel, and we don't want to multiply that out because then we are resetting something, and this is actually the best form to have it in. All right, so that's it for the notes today. Thanks for watching.